Same signs add, different signs subtract. Same sign, keep the sign, different, keep the larger.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Kearney Math Show. Just taking you back to a little memory from the beginning of the year. With us taking a look back, we're going to be looking back at some of the units we first started with, like same signs add, different signs subtract. Ooh. So before we get started, this is entry number 2 in your EOG bowling review. So if you'd write entry number 2 at the top. Okay, so I'm going to go through this quickly, guys. I'm going to go through kind of 8 different concepts that we talked about at the beginning of the year. First of all, adding with negative numbers. We learned that when you're adding negative numbers, we learned that the signs are the same signs, add different signs, you're going to subtract. And then we're going to take the sign of larger absolute value. Okay, so for example, if I had the example negative 12 plus negative 5, the signs are the same, so I'm going to add, so 12 plus 5, and then I'm going to take the sign of the larger absolute value. So since 12 will have more, it's negative, my answer is going to be negative 17. Okay? Now, if you are subtracting with negative numbers, one thing to note is that minus a negative should switch to plus a positive. For example, 10 minus negative 5 really is the same thing as 10 plus 5. Because if you're taking away negativity in your life, you're adding positivity. So that would be 10 plus 5, which is 15. Okay? And then another thing is, guys, is just view a subtraction like a negative. Okay? So that's another thing. View subtraction like a negative. Okay? For example, if you have negative 5 minus 7, if you have negative 5 minus 7, that's a negative 5, and view that minus 7 like a negative 7. So negative 5, negative 7, same signs, add. So we add them, and we get negative 12. Okay? So really there's no need to kind of, remember we used to change the subtraction to a plus sign. There's no need to do that. Just view the subtraction like a negative. Okay? For multiplying and dividing negative numbers, we're going to still use our have no fear, integer man is here. So for multiplying and dividing, we're going to use integer man. Okay, so a negative times a negative, if we use that, is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. Okay? Moving right along. Converting mixed numbers to improper fractions. We're going to need to do this a lot. Where we see mixed numbers, I'd recommend change them to improper fractions. So, for example, 2 1/3, we would multiply the denominator by the whole number. So 2 times 3, which is 6, and then we're going to add the numerator. So 6 plus 1 is 7/3. Okay? Next, converting fractions to decimals. For example, if we have 2/3 and I wanted to convert that to a decimal, you would divide the numerator by denominator. So 2 divided by 3. Okay, so the top divided by the bottom. So 3 doesn't go into 2. So I'm going to have to add a decimal and a 0. 3 goes into 20. 6 times, so 3 times 6 is 18. We subtract 20 minus 18, we get 2. We bring down our 0, and you see it's going to continue. So it's going to be 6.6 repeating. Now, if we're trying to convert from a decimal to a fraction, there are a couple of different things you can do. Number one, you can read it as a proper decimal. For example, if you had the example 0.25, if you read that, that would be 25/100ths. So you can write it as a fraction that way. Next, what you could do is you can use the place value as the denominator. Okay? So here, if we look, 25 is in the 100ths place. So my denominator is 100. And then we're going to use the numerator as use the number that's there as the numerator. Okay, so 25/100ths would be 25/100. Okay, and guys, there could be a lot of questions where you're needing to compare fractions, decimals, and percentages. Okay, and you're going to maybe need to compare and know which one's bigger, or you might have a problem that has all of them. And I would really try to get all of them in the same form. So if you're better with decimals, convert them all to decimals. If you're better with fractions, convert them to fractions. If you're better with percentages, so that you're equally comparing apples to apples. Get them all the same. Okay. Next thing, adding and subtracting fractions. One big thing is you need a common denominator. And then you're also going to use integer rules. For example, same signs, if you're adding fractions, same signs you're going to add. Different signs you're going to subtract. Okay, for multiplying and dividing fractions, we're just going to multiply fractions straight across. Okay, so for an example, if you had the 1/3 times 2/5, we would just multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 5 is 15, and then simplify if you can. Now for dividing fractions, anybody remember how to divide fractions? You're going to change, flip. Yeah, that's the action. So 1/4 divided by 3/5. So we're going to keep 1/4, change, and then flip. And then just multiply straight across. So 5/12. Okay? And one more key piece of advice. It's not on your sheet, but I would like for you to add. If you see the word of, keyword of oftentimes tells us to multiply. For example, let's say I had 24 students in my class, and 1/4 of the class brought in candy. So 1/4 of 24, the keyword of tells me to multiply 1/4 times 24 would be 24/4, which means 6 people brought in candy. So when you see the keyword of, that tells you to multiply. Okay? So we're going to need to remember all of these little things we learned at the beginning of the year to help us with some pretty tough problems today, okay? So when you're going over problems, figure out what kind of problem it is and if you can use any of the things we just talked about. All right? So until you rotate to my station, I'd like for you to flip to the back and you can begin on the problems. And look for keywords. Mark that text. Write what you want to know. Figure out what it's asking. Yes, these are hard. Yes, you can't use a calculator on these problems, but you can do it, guys. If you put your mind to it, anything is possible. All right, good luck, guys. Peace out, Rainbow Trout. Love you, mean it.